All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of GRG Talks. Thank you very much for joining us, John Stormans.
It's a pleasure to be back.
That's right. Right. You were back for one of our most popular segments.
Okay, dumb luck.
I don't think so. It was all about inflation.
It was a boring weekend. People were just, I guess we'll listen to this guy for 5 minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
For those who don't have an opportunity, we're going to put the link to the previous podcast in this podcast because it's really good. It's on inflation and it's on the different questions folks have. This is another one of these that is for us beginners.
Yeah.
Those of us who are novices who are this game, and that is preparing for the journey. And but what we mean by that is preparing for like home ownership, actually going to buy one. So you're here to talk to us a little bit about getting started.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So you ready to dive in?
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's do it. So you're a person who has rented for a long period of time. You finished college about 5 or 6 years ago. You finally have what you think might be something worth a down payment. And you're thinking about becoming a homeowner instead of a renter.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what people should do before they even start looking for a home?
Yeah. I think this is something I know I said before, so I'll touch on it previously, and then we can move on from there. I think one of the first things is getting into the mentality of being a homeowner, which is actually very different than the mentality of someone that's renting a home or renting an apartment or renting a space. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that you become responsible for this thing.
Yeah.
Financially responsible, you're in terms of just how you spend your time and how you care for the thing. I don't want to sell a house to somebody and then drive by 2 years later and it just looks awful.
Yeah.
That might have been an indication that we weren't ready to make that decision.
Right.
Beyond that, financial responsibility, learning to treat money differently. Sometimes when you're renting, you might have a rainy day fund in case your car breaks down, or you might be saving a couple extra dollars for it just in case. When you own a home, if your roof leaks or if your roof is bad or if your furnace goes out, these are massive expenses and they're unavoidable if it happens, and things are going to happen.
Yeah, and they're on you too.
They're on you. Maybe you're married or you have a partner, but you can't necessarily just like call up your mom and be like, hey, we got the thing. She might not know how to fix the furnace.
Right.
So I think the first step is going, okay, I'm taking like a huge step forward in terms of responsibility over my living situation and getting into that mentality and starting to practice what that feels like. I think that is a huge first step because it's impossible to know what it feels like. Same thing like when your car breaks down, it sucks so bad.
Right.
Like, it's hard to prepare for what it's going to feel like to own a home and have bills and expenses and things happen monetarily that are out of your control and that are far larger than you've been used to in the past.
Yeah.
So getting in that zone, I think, is a big deal. It's important to be very excited and think about the possibilities. It's also important to understand, hey, there's another side to this too, where I am now responsible for a piece of real estate.
Yeah.
And I don't control the weather. I don't control things that happen. I don't make furnaces. Stuff's going to happen here. I got to be ready for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a really great way to start. Get the mentality right.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk us through down payments?
Yeah.
What should people be thinking about right now in this market in terms of money that they got to bring to the table?
Yeah. So, money that comes to the table for a house can range from anywhere from literally $0 to buying the entire house in cash or getting a $1,000 loan.
Yeah.
It can be, it's that full spectrum. First time home buyers, let's assume that best case scenario, you're able to put 20% down. Mm-hmm. That's an enormous sum of money in a market where, let's say our median sales price is in like 550,000. We're talking about 6 figures of cash in the bank.
Yeah.
That if you've been able to accrue that sum, that is That is awesome.
Congratulations.
You showed an incredible amount of discipline.
Yeah.
You've worked hard. Good job. But that's the best case scenario. And you still have, a bigger loan. If you're buying a $550,000 house, 100 down, 450. So you're taking on a big loan no matter what. But our expectations and what's realistic is probably more in line with something lower. I'm not a loan officer, so what my job in that regard is to direct you to a professional to help analyze, okay, how are you going to find the best deal? What works for you? How much money do you have? Are we going to need to ask the seller for closing costs? But even taking a further step back and going, okay, we're saving what we can. What people can and can't save is totally subjective. It's different for everybody. And you can buy homes with state bond down payment assistance. The beautiful thing for first-time home buyers and people that are wanting to enter this market now compared to the last 2.5, 3 years is this crazy competitive situation has in large part died off as a result of interest rates going up. So in the past, if a house was going to get 5 offers and you were coming to the table with 0% down and getting down payment assistance, it was very common for that offer to get overlooked because the seller views that person as weaker financially than, of those 5 offers, some of them probably were 20% down. Some people were maybe doing things like waiving inspections, and these are all things, or buying it in cash, not getting a loan. These are all things that people would do that are in a stronger financial position. We don't waive inspections ever, but certainly not with a first-time home buyer. If someone has $1 million of cash and they want to waive an inspection, I guess they're making the gamble that if the roof is bad, they have the money to fix it anyways, and they'll just figure it out later. Us as in the first-time home buyer world, or just the reasonable world, we don't want to operate that way. So buyers oftentimes were losing to these people that were just bringing money, and they were coming from different places, and that's still going to go on. But with the market slowing down, we have an opportunity to get into a much better position having less cash.
Silly question.
Yeah.
This might seem like a silly question, but I don't know that it is. How important is it for people before they go out to become first-time home buyers to actually prioritize what it is they're looking for in a home? Bedrooms, square footage, where is it looking? Because I think that seems like a silly question, but sometimes people go out just kind of like haphazardly looking around. And then they find themselves overwhelmed. So how important is it to kind of really focus on what it is you want?
Totally. I think that's huge in decision making in life. Like learning how to make difficult decisions and move forward is a really high level skill, and people that are able to do that are able to move forward in things in life with so much more ease, and they can make these big steps forward, big leaps forward just in life in general. So with buying a house, absolutely. I've had this conversation with many people in the last couple months, so we'll just run through it, where it's like, let's say that there's 10 pieces of criteria: location, bedrooms, bathrooms, price, how big is the yard, how much work does the house need, what updates are done, whatever. And let's say we list out those 10. 3 or 4 of them are non-negotiable. We have to live in this certain location. Price is typically non-negotiable. We cannot buy $1 million house, so it has to fit our price. So we have a couple that are like, it has to fall into these buckets, otherwise there's nothing we can do. And then the rest are more subjective, and it's going to depend on someone's preferences. Understanding though ahead of time that there's essentially no scenario, or we certainly can't hold out for the scenario that we're going to get 10 out of 10. That's not realistic. It's not going to happen. And let's say it does. Do you think you're the only person that's going to recognize that one was a 10 out of 10? So again, like, you can put all your eggs in to find this perfect house. We show up and show it. 10 people have already been there, and it has 3 offers. It doesn't mean that it's not worthwhile to go after, but it means if we were only waiting for that one house, maybe we weren't thinking about it as pragmatically as we could have been. So what I've been talking about with people, this exact conversation, is how many of the 10 does something need to hit before we go, this is a house worth making an offer on.
Yeah.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Right.
And when we find something that's an 8 out of 10, it's in good condition, it's in a good location, it's got a good price, it has the right amount of bedrooms, it doesn't quite have the square footage we want, and maybe the kitchen's not as updated as we want.
Yeah.
But if we've put in the work, then I would my counsel in that situation would be, okay, I think this is a reasonable, we've reached a point where it's reasonable to maybe move forward with a house like this. Buying houses is very emotional too, and there's a lot of feel involved. So sometimes someone will just say, "It just doesn't feel right for me." Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm when I'm dealing with someone, I'm listening to that before I even open my mouth. So if it's obvious that I might be in the house going, "Hang on a minute, this is meeting most of what we want," but what I'm getting from the buyer is clearly there's something about the house they don't like.
Yeah.
I shut my mouth, and then we
Yeah.
go to the next one, because there will always be another house.
Yeah.
But that's having that criteria, understanding exactly the must-haves and then the wants, and going, okay, we're not looking for perfect. We're looking to hit most of these. And when we do, then we need to take this place a little bit more seriously and go, okay, is this something that we want to move forward with? Final piece with that is, especially as a first-time home buyer, not people that are in this category of having massive sums of money in the bank. I would add to that is things like roofs, major systems, roofs, furnaces.
Right.
Water heaters are cheaper, but siding, windows, where if there's major issues with those things and the seller's not willing to repair them, then that is it raises more red flags for a first-time home buyer, because you just saved up all this money to get a down payment. But now you have 2 or 3 repairs hanging over your head that you know are coming. So it's like you're just immediately back to being behind the 8 ball, trying to save up money for this repair. So for first-time home buyers, I tend to lump those big ticket items kind of in with the, hey, we really don't want to buy a house with a bad roof. And if we like the house enough that we want to try and move forward with it, if we can't get the seller to fix this for us, it makes me very nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. How important are the things like debt to income ratio and credit score? Because that's another one that folks who are kind of novices in the market, looking for a first time, they haven't really necessarily potentially dealt with the concept of debt to income ratios and credit scores. How important are those when a first time home buyer is looking to get their sort of financial stuff together?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think as we're younger, whether it's getting out of high school and getting a job, maybe you were able to go to college, maybe you took on some loans, student loans in order to do that. Maybe you didn't, whatever the situation is, but just kind of this process of going from being taken care of to taking care of yourself.
Yeah, like being mature.
It's hard, and it takes a long time. During that process, it's a lot easier to overlook your financial health, because, well, let's face it, no one's had to pay student loans for 2 years.
Right.
So you could owe $300,000, $100,000, $50,000. And to be honest, how many of us were thinking about that? If you weren't having to stroke the check, then maybe it kind of slipped into the back of your mind.
Yeah.
And if you're not trying to buy a house, if you're not trying to make these big steps forward in life, it is as simple as writing a check. If you make enough money to pay it, you make enough money to pay it, and you move on.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it comes to making a decision like this, and it matters, because you're using somebody else's money to make an enormous financial decision.
Right.
And that somebody else, that bank or that credit union or whatever, they're looking at you, they're analyzing your health. It's like if you were going to get a life insurance policy and they make you go run the mile. They're what kind of shape are you in?
Right.
They're figuring out, I don't know, whatever. That's just,
what your financial shape is.
So now they're like, what kind of financial shape is this person in?
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily have to do with income. Someone can make enormous amounts of income, and a bank or the other person that's going to give the money is going to go, well, but how much debt do you have?
Yeah.
If you got $50,000 a car loan and $200,000 of this, and essentially what they're doing, and again, I'm not a loan officer, but we can speak kind of peripherally about it, is what is your what is your current debt? What does that cost on a monthly basis? What is your income? And how much more room is there for debt? And that's how they're going to make that decision. And they're going to say, okay, well, then we can approve you for X amount of dollars based on the debt you already have and the debt you would be taking on to buy this house. So being aware of that is incredibly important. And I think for people that are going, well, we would like to be a homeowner. I don't know when that is, but we want to start to be intentional about moving in that direction. Be very, very, very aware of the kinds of debt that you're taking on and whether you're taking on debt at all. Please don't go into credit card debt if you can avoid it at all costs, because those interest rates are so high and it's going to eat you alive. Even car debt. I drive the same car that I got my junior year of college, which is like 8 years ago. And as much as I would have it's funny because ever since I've worked here, I'm like, every single person in this building has got a new car since I've been here.
I know.
Or something, maybe not new, but used, or just driving something different.
Yes.
But I'm unwilling to take on a loan and replace something that doesn't need to be replaced.
Yeah.
It drives fine. I've had no problems.
Right.
I remember I watched this video on Mark Cuban that Mark Cuban did talking about what to do with your finances. And the one thing that always stuck home with me is he's like, drive the beater car until it can't move anymore.
Yeah.
Because a car is such a huge amount of money and it can just get in the way of other more positive financial things. And let's face it, it can be great, and then sometimes it just kind of becomes less cool over time. Eventually I will have a new car, but until the Subaru breaks, I'm keep driving this.
There you go.
So stuff like that, where to loop back around, when you're saying I have intentions to become a homeowner, but I don't know what that timeline is, being so aware of that and going, okay, if I want to buy a home, I'm not entitled to a loan. Unless you can buy it in cash, somebody else has to give you the money, and you're not entitled to that money.
Right.
You have to earn the right to be given that money. And that happens through good financial health. So these things also affect credit scores too. So they're going to look at your debt to income ratio, and then they're going to go, okay, you're good on the debt to income ratio. You make a good income. You got this big car payment, and you got some credit card debt, and you've got some, you have some student loans. But you make enough income. We can approve you for $600,000, but you missed payments.
Yeah.
You weren't on top of things, and your credit score, you opened up, you're using too much on your credit cards, or whatever it might be. And in terms of analyzing credit score, that would be a great podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the podcasts we'll talk about in the future.
What goes into a credit score and how does it work, and why, and what are the healthy things to do to make it better. Yeah. But they're going to say, okay, but your interest rate is going to be 2% higher than than what we would standard give in a normal environment, because your credit score is bad because you've done some unhealthy things here with money. Yeah. So being aware of that, learning what your credit score is now. Yeah. If you don't have a credit card, you have to go get one now. You can get a credit card, you can get zero fees, use it like a debit card, and pay it off every month, and you're building credit. So yeah, I think as people start to put themselves in that headspace, you are relying. Somebody else has to give you the money to make this decision, so you have to prove to them that you're a worthwhile investment, and you're going to honor your end of the deal. Yeah.
Let's talk about the pre-approval process. So, is it necessary for someone to get pre-approved for a loan? And it doesn't. I guess the second question doesn't really depend on the first question. The second question is, why would it even be a good thing to get pre-approved in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Realistically, the most important reason, it's two. I would encourage people as well, as you're looking, go online, type in mortgage calculator on Google, and start to crunch numbers. Well, here's how much money we have. What does it say the interest rate is? Okay, and here's how much the house. What would that payment be like? Add the taxes and the insurance in there, and that's helpful, but it's not concrete. And Google is not giving you your loan.
Right.
A lender.
What? They're not handing out money?
They probably will start, I'm sure. Yeah. So we'll loop back to this in 5 years.
Yeah, that's right.
I got my loan on Google.
In the future, we'll be like Google loan programs.
Yeah. So I think that probably will happen with no evidence to back that up.
We'll fast forward 10 years from now. It'll definitely be a thing.
Yeah. But yeah, a lender, a bank, through an individual is going to give you the loan. So the only way to get accurate numbers is to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to pull your credit report, but you're going to either tell them or show them, hey, here's how much money we make, here's what our debt is, here's what all this looks like. And through that process, they're going to pre-approve you for this loan.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, okay, well, it looks like you can afford $400,000. Here's how much money you would probably need to bring to the table to purchase at that price. And here's what your monthly payment would probably look like.
Yeah.
Making some assumptions. It's never going to work out perfect, but that is far more concrete and probably accounts for 90% of what you're going to see when you actually go to purchase the house. And the final thing is on pre-approval is when you're buying a house, you are buying a purchase price. But I find it healthier or better to think about you're buying a new monthly payment.
Right.
And because that your day-to-day life is not going to be how much did you house cost?
Yeah. Right.
You know, like that's not how this works. Your day-to-day life is going to be how much do we owe on the first of the month when we have to pay our mortgage?
Yeah.
You might be like, yeah, I got my house for $250,000. It's awesome. And we're like, but my payment's $3,000 a month, and I literally can't afford it. It's okay, well, it seems like maybe that wasn't the best decision. I'm glad you got a great deal.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's worth way more, maybe, and you can sell it.
Yeah.
So that's why getting a pre-approval is so important. Now, in terms of how to get a pre-approval, obviously we have relationships with lenders, but it happens in different ways. Oftentimes, there's an attitude that like, you meet your real estate agent and then they're going to send you to their lender, and it's going to, be this kind of controlled process. And while that does happen very often, at the same time for us, it's important to be like, well, who do you bank with?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you comfortable with? Do you know any lenders? And working in kind of a holistic way, what kinds of organizations are you comfortable with? Would you, do you like the Bank of America, and are you comfortable working with someone there, or, a loan officer that's going to give you a loan and it'll be sold off? Or do you like how things are done at your credit union?
Yeah.
Or a place like Olympia Federal where they give you the loan, but they keep it as their own investment. They're not selling it off. So having a healthy conversation there, and then us as a team, whether it's myself as the real estate broker or you, getting you plugged in with someone that you work really well with.
Yeah.
So it's like looking at the organization. Do I align with the organization, like how they do things? And then the individuals. And so that's why ordinarily we like people to talk to and meet different lenders. Yeah. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it works in a way where, they already have someone, they know someone. No, we would love to stay with our bank. We like to keep everything organized right in one place. Perfect.
Right.
It's awesome for us to, if there's people we don't know in this industry, to continue to build relationships and work together with people for the benefit of our clients so that they can achieve home ownership.
Yeah. Awesome. As we close out the podcast, is there anything sort of more that you'd like to mention that folks who are first-time home buyers might want to think about as they're prepping for the experience?
No, I think, that probably covers most of what's on my mind now. I think sticking to some of these basic philosophies, I learned that over time, my life or the way I think about the world boils down to certain philosophies and then following that line. So it's coming down to things like the mentality of a homeowner. Homeowners have to think about their living situation differently than renters do.
Yeah.
So if you're currently renting a home or renting an apartment or renting a space or living with your parents, it really doesn't matter. Yeah. Putting yourself in the headspace of somebody that has to maintain, care for, and bear the expense of that piece of real estate, the land and the structure. So that being a big one, starting to think about debt and understanding that we are borrowing somebody else's money to make this happen, and we have to prove to them that we're a good investment, that we're going to hold up our end of the bargain, make these payments on time. So looking at your debt, analyzing your financial health, so mentality of a homeowner, analyzing financial health, and then seeking advice and talking to people that have gone through the process and understand the process and can simplify it. And, that's going back to the car. I know legitimately zero about cars, actual zero. My dad knows about cars.
Yeah.
I will be 50 and I will call him and I'll be like, Dad, there's a thing, and he'll do it because he's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to rely on other people in that realm. So whether it's a parent, a friend, a family friend, a professional, do research online, but then start to seek the advice of people around you that you know have been through this process. And ordinarily, that's how we find our way to clients. And clients find their way to us is, maybe they were doing research and they found our names, or we had worked with somebody that they knew, or they know us directly. Start that process of getting that counsel and that guidance from people you trust so that they can point you to the next person that they trust. And I think that's part of why Green Realty is such a cool place, is we've built a community through that. That's our way of business. We're not targeting people and trying to interject ourselves into their lives to force them to buy a house. We feel that naturally doing the right thing and taking care of people will lead us to the next opportunity. And when we meet people in that way, it just seems to be so overwhelmingly positive. And we're having such good experiences, especially with first-time home buyers, helping them get from different A to B and into home.
Awesome. Well, it certainly is. Being a first-time home buyer is an exciting and intimidating journey. It's really such a cool moment in your life to search for and own your first home. And we really want to thank you, John, for coming on and trying to take some of the complexities out of that process. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. We'll see if I get in a third round here or not.
Yeah,
Time will tell.
right. I think you did all right.